Have you ever felt that your mind operates on a completely different wavelength than the men around you? That their priorities, reactions, and choices almost seem foreign compared to the way your brain naturally works? Maybe you've noticed how so many guys chase after the same goals, follow the same social rituals, and fall into predictable patterns, while you feel as if you're quietly moving according to an entirely different rulebook that no one else has even read. There's a real psychological explanation behind that feeling. Some men are born with traits that push them beyond the boundaries of the traditional social hierarchy. They don't neatly fit the mold of the alpha, always trying to dominate, nor do they slip into the role of the beta, simply following wherever the group leads. Instead, they walk their own path, one that exists outside of the usual lanes altogether. These men are known as Sigma males. What often confuses friends, family, and coworkers is that their decisions rarely follow the expected script. Their choices aren't driven by social approval, status points, or even the desire to belong. Instead, they're guided by an internal compass, a quiet but unshakable logic that values meaning, freedom, and authenticity over outside expectations. Here's the truth. They're not trying to rebel, stand out, or act different just to prove a point. They simply can't force themselves into behaviors that feel fake, hollow, or draining, even if that's exactly what the world demands. Because of that, their natural responses to everyday social situations often appear unusual, sometimes even confusing, to people accustomed to more conventional male behavior. So if you've ever wondered why your thoughts and actions don't quite match those of other men, these 7 unique behaviors may finally give you the clarity you've been searching for. But before we dive in, let me ask you, do you think you've been living by your own hidden rulebook all along without even realizing it? 1. You instantly recognize fake people and you refuse to play along. Think back to a time when you met someone and immediately sensed that something about them just didn't sit right. Maybe their words didn't match their facial expressions, or their compliments sounded like a recycled script they've used countless times before. Most people brush off that gut feeling, give the benefit of the doubt, and keep the conversation going politely. But not you. If you're a Sigma, you don't ignore it. While others engage in the surface-level back and forth, your brain is busy scanning micro-expressions, tone shifts, and body language that most people barely notice. It's like your mind runs credibility checks on autopilot. Psychologists call this advanced perspective taking, the ability to read beneath the surface and uncover people's true intentions, even when they're trying to cover them up. You notice when someone talks differently depending on who's in the room, when they flatter selectively, or when their entire presence feels like an act designed to get something from others. And here's the twist. Instead of confronting them, calling them out, or making it a big deal, you simply detach. You won't be openly rude, but you'll quietly withdraw your energy and attention. The connection in your mind is already over. This baffles people who are used to getting by on charm, flattery, or shallow friendliness. They expect you to play along with their script. But Sigma males never waste time investing in relationships that lack authenticity. They'd rather stand alone than surround themselves with masks and pretense. 2. You walk away from disrespect without giving an explanation. For most men, disrespect sparks a predictable reaction. Some will fight back, argue, or demand respect through force. Others will plead their case, try to prove they deserve better treatment, or waste time defending themselves to people who already devalue them. But for the Sigma male, the response is entirely different, and it often leaves people stunned. When someone consistently disrespects you, whether it's a boss who takes credit for your work, a so-called friend who only calls when they need something, or anyone who habitually treats you poorly, you don't burn energy trying to convince them to change. You don't lecture, you don't beg, and you don't try to win them over. You simply walk away, quietly, decisively, without a dramatic exit speech. To others, this might look cold or mysterious, but in truth, it's clarity. A Sigma knows that trying to change someone who has already shown their lack of respect is a losing battle. Instead of fighting for a place at the wrong table, you'd rather leave entirely and keep your energy for spaces and people who actually value you. You don't storm out, raise your voice, or try to make a scene. You simply remove yourself from the situation with quiet certainty. For Sigma males, walking away isn't about theatrics or trying to prove a point. It's about recognizing a simple truth. Once respect in a relationship has been broken, it rarely gets rebuilt through explanations, arguments, or repeated second chances. Rather than sticking around in environments where they're undervalued, they protect their peace of mind by cutting ties and moving forward. Psychologists often describe this as high self-determination, a trait linked to independence, resilience, and emotional stability. While many people cling to bad situations out of fear of being alone, fear of conflict, or fear of rejection, the Sigma male doesn't share that hesitation. When the line of respect is crossed, he has no issue stepping away, no matter how strange it might look to others. And that's exactly what confuses people. They expect the Sigma to argue, demand attention, or fight to prove his worth. But when instead they're met with silence, no begging, no drama, just quiet withdrawal, it throws them off completely. They're accustomed to others tolerating disrespect in order to preserve a relationship. Sigma males, however, play by different rules entirely. 3. You challenge rules that exist without logic. Everyone remembers being told at some point, "That's just how we've always done it." Most people accept that answer without question, slipping into tradition or routine without ever stopping to wonder if it makes sense. But if you're a Sigma, your brain refuses to operate that way. You instinctively ask why a rule exists before deciding whether it deserves your obedience. This shows up everywhere. In the workplace, you'll question outdated procedures that slow progress without adding value. In social settings, you won't blindly participate in traditions that serve no real purpose other than keeping people comfortable. For you, logic comes first. If something holds value, you'll respect it. If not, you quietly discard it and move on. This comes from a mix of independent thinking and a naturally low need for external validation. You trust your own reasoning more than the crowd's expectations. While most people follow rules to keep the peace or gain approval, Sigma males honor only the rules that matter and let the rest fade into the background. The surprising part is how calm you are about it. You're not rebelling for the sake of rebellion. You're not angry about traditions or procedures. You simply don't waste time on systems or behaviors that don't contribute to real growth. That quiet refusal to comply with pointless rules leaves people unsettled, because they're used to everyone sticking to the same script, even when that script is outdated or meaningless. 4. You achieve in silence while others demand attention. Look around and you'll notice most men want an audience for everything they do. They'll post their gym routines online, announce every career step, and broadcast even their smallest accomplishments in search of validation. Their achievements become performances, staged to collect applause from others. But Sigma males move differently. When you're working on something meaningful, you keep it close to your chest until it's finished. You don't crave cheerleaders or need progress updates to stay motivated. Your energy is invested in execution, not in broadcasting every step. Why? Because substance matters more to you than show. You understand that real progress doesn't need constant recognition, and real achievement doesn't require outside validation. What fuels you isn't applause. It's the quiet satisfaction of completing what you set out to do and seeing the tangible results of your work. This is why people often underestimate you. While others are busy talking about their plans and chasing encouragement, you're already executing yours in silence. By the time they realize what you've been building, the work is done, the result speaks for itself, and you never needed anyone's permission or approval to get there. 5. You actually prefer being underestimated by people who don't know you. Most men get uncomfortable, even angry, when others fail to immediately recognize their value. They want to come across as competent, impressive, and worth respecting right from the first handshake. To them, being underestimated feels like an insult that must be corrected as quickly as possible. But for you, it's different. When strangers form assumptions about what you can or can't do, you feel no need to correct them. You're perfectly fine letting people think whatever they want. After all, their judgments aren't rooted in reality. They don't know you well enough to make them in the first place. For Sigma males, being underestimated often becomes an advantage. With no spotlight on them and no heavy expectations weighing them down, they gain the freedom to move quietly, think clearly, and make choices without constant scrutiny. And in time, their true abilities naturally surface, not through self-promotion or explanations, but through results. This mindset puzzles those who are used to men immediately flashing their credentials or trying to prove themselves in every new interaction. Your willingness to let others misjudge you at first glance makes them wonder if you lack confidence. But the truth is the opposite. It's a quiet form of self-assurance, the confidence of a man who doesn't need validation from strangers to know his own worth. 6. You choose solitude over wrong company, and you never feel lonely doing it. For many people, the fear of being alone pushes them into relationships and social circles that don't actually fit them. They'll hang out with people they don't respect, stay in draining friendships, or wedge themselves into groups that don't align with who they really are, all to avoid the discomfort of solitude. You don't share that fear. When your options are shallow company that exhausts you or your own presence, you pick solitude without hesitation. You don't see it as emptiness, you see it as clarity. To you, solitude is better than fake connections and far healthier than wasting energy on people who don't belong in your life. This comes from what could be called inner stability, a steady, grounded confidence that doesn't depend on applause or external validation. You're perfectly content with your own thoughts, your own projects, and your own mental space. That doesn't mean you dislike people or avoid social interaction altogether. It simply means you refuse to force connections that lack depth or authenticity. When you do spend time with others, it's by choice, not by fear of loneliness. And that choice is what makes your connections genuine. To outsiders who measure their social worth by how full their calendar is or how many names are saved in their phone, this behavior seems strange. But you know the truth. No company is always better than the wrong company. 7. You skip the empty small talk and go straight to conversations that matter. Most social interactions run on autopilot. A quick, "How are you?" comments about the weather or filler chatter just to pass the time. For most people, this feels normal. For you, it feels draining. You don't see the point of burning mental energy on words that carry no meaning. When you talk to someone, you want the exchange to have weight. You want it to either teach you something new, spark insight, or deepen the connection. Going through the ritual of surface-level conversation just to appear polite doesn't interest you. This doesn't mean you're antisocial. It doesn't mean you're cold, arrogant, or rude. What it really means is that you value substance over performance. You'd rather share one deep, soul-stirring conversation than waste energy on 10 shallow exchanges that both sides will forget before the day is over. Unlike most people, Sigma males don't lean on small talk just to ease tension or fill the silence. You're perfectly comfortable in those quiet moments, and that comfort is powerful. It allows you to bypass the surface-level chatter and dive straight into meaningful dialogue when the moment is right. Of course, some may mistake this for being distant or even aloof. But to you, it's just honesty. You refuse to confuse noise with connection. You know that words aren't the same as meaning, and conversation isn't the same as true understanding. At the end of the day, you'd rather invest your energy into conversations that shape you, that challenge you, that matter. And that difference, that refusal to perform socially just to fit in, is exactly what sets you apart. So if you've ever felt out of place because you don't thrive on small talk, remember this: your silence is not emptiness, it's strength. Your depth is not a flaw, it's your signature. If this resonates with you, make sure to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and subscribe to Epic Persona. Here, we explore the truth about men who move differently, who live with depth, and who refuse to dilute themselves for the crowd. Question for you: would you rather be remembered for countless conversations, or for the one conversation that truly mattered?